My boyfriend's kiss felt strange, his lips were too soft, too wet. When I pulled back, a string of flesh connected us. "What's wrong?" he asked, his smile stretching too far. I screamed as his skin split, unraveling like wet paper, revealing a glimpse of the thing wearing him. "Don't be afraid," it gurgled. "You're next." Hey Reddit, I've been holding this in for a long time. I don't know if it's grief, guilt, or something worse, but I need to write it down. Maybe someone out there will believe me. Maybe someone else has seen what I saw. This happened in 2019, in a small town in northern Minnesota. I was 34 then, working at a local library, living a quiet life. I had just started dating a guy named Mark. He was new in town, said he moved from Chicago to escape the city noise. He was charming, attentive, and had this calm presence that made you feel safe. We met at a community book club. He was reading The Road by Cormac McCarthy, and we bonded over our love for dystopian novels. Our relationship progressed quickly. Within a few months, he moved into my apartment. Everything seemed perfect. But then, things started to change. The first sign, it was a Tuesday evening. We were watching a movie on the couch, and he leaned in to kiss me. His lips felt different. Too soft, too wet, almost like raw meat. I pulled back, confused. A thin string of flesh connected our mouths, stretching before snapping. I stared at him, horrified. He smiled, but it wasn't his usual smile. It stretched too far, almost reaching his ears. I screamed as his skin began to split, unraveling like wet paper. Beneath it was something else, something not human. It gurgled, "Don't be afraid. You're next." I blacked out. Waking up, I woke up on the floor, alone. The apartment was silent. No sign of Mark. I checked the bathroom, the kitchen, even the closet. Nothing. His clothes were gone, but his toothbrush was still in the holder. I tried calling him, but his number was disconnected. I went to the police, but they couldn't find any records of him. No driver's license, no employment history, nothing. It was like he never existed. The investigation, I couldn't let it go. I started digging into his past, trying to find any trace of him. I remembered he mentioned working at a bookstore in Chicago. I called every bookstore I could find, but no one had heard of him. I even visited Chicago, showing his photo to people, but no one recognized him. It was like he was a ghost. The dreams after he disappeared, I started having nightmares. In them, I was being chased by a creature wearing Mark's skin. It would whisper, "Don't be afraid. You're next." I would wake up screaming, drenched in sweat. I started seeing a therapist, who diagnosed me with PTSD. But I knew it was more than that. The return a year later, I was at the grocery store when I saw him. He was standing in the produce aisle, examining apples. I approached him cautiously. "Mark?" I asked. He turned to me, smiling. "I'm sorry, you must have me confused with someone else," he said. But his eyes told a different story. They were the same eyes that haunted my dreams. I backed away, heart pounding. He watched me leave, his smile never fading. The realization, I started researching similar cases and found stories of people encountering loved ones who suddenly changed, their skin peeling away to reveal something else. Some called them skinwalkers, others doppelgangers. I don't know what they are, but I know they're real. And I know they're among us. The warning: if someone you love starts acting differently, if their touch feels wrong, if their smile stretches too far, trust your instincts. Get away. Because once they have you, there's no going back. I couldn't sleep after seeing him at the store. I left my cart, groceries still inside, and drove home shaking. I kept checking the rearview mirror, half expecting his car to follow me. But there was nothing. Just the quiet Minnesota road, and the thrum of my heartbeat in my ears. When I got home, I locked every door, every window, even the basement. Then I sat in the living room, lights off, staring at the door like it might breathe. That night, the dream came again, but this time, it changed. I was standing in the woods behind my old high school. The trees were black, twisted, their branches reaching like fingers. Mark, or whatever wore his skin, was standing ahead of me. But he wasn't alone. There were others. Dozens of them. Men. Women. Children. All wearing faces that didn't quite fit. Their skin didn't line up at the seams. Their mouths hung open like they weren't used to them. Their eyes, blank, empty, but watching. Always watching. I woke up gasping, nails dug into my palms so hard I drew blood. I went to the bathroom, turned on the light, and saw something that made me freeze. There was a fingerprint on my mirror. Not mine. Smudged, greasy, and wet, like it had just been made. I live alone. The next few days, things got worse. My coworkers at the library noticed I was jumpy. I started forgetting things, books I'd shelved, conversations I didn't remember having. One morning, I found my shoes by the door, caked in mud. But I hadn't left the house since the grocery store. I bought a camera and set it up in my living room, pointing at the front door. That night, I slept with the lights on. When I checked the footage the next day, my hands shook so badly I dropped the laptop. Around 3:11 a.m., the door slowly creaked open. I hadn't heard it. I watched myself walk in. But I never left. I don't remember it. I don't sleepwalk. I've never done that in my life. But the person in the video, it looked like me. It moved like me. But it wasn't right. The way it walked, too slow. Like someone trying to imitate how I move. The thing stared at the camera for exactly 12 seconds. Then it smiled. Not a normal smile. A wide, stretched, skin-pulling grin. Teeth too straight, too white. And then it walked out the frame. I didn't sleep after that. I stopped going to work. My phone started ringing at odd hours, but no number showed up. Just the word mirror in bold text. I tried smashing every mirror in the house. It didn't help. One night, I woke up to the sound of footsteps upstairs. I live in a one-story house. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen and crept up the stairs, only there weren't any. Just the ceiling. But the footsteps continued. Right above me. The next morning, I got a call from an old friend, Claire. We hadn't talked in years, not since she moved to Duluth. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Have you seen him too? She asked, before I said a word. My blood turned to ice. We met up in a diner just off I-35. She looked tired. Pale. Like she hadn't slept in weeks. When I told her what I saw, she nodded like she already knew. Then she rolled up her sleeve and showed me the scar. A clean, circular wound just under her elbow. Like a plug had been taken out of her. They take a piece of you, she whispered. So they can copy it. She said it started with her boyfriend, just like me. Then her parents. Then her boss. They all started acting wrong. Not at once, slowly. Like rot setting in from the inside. They're learning, she said. Getting better at pretending. Then she leaned in close. Have you ever bled and not known why? Yes. A week ago. A cut on my calf. I thought it was from shaving. But I hadn't shaved in days. Claire pulled a folded paper from her bag. A map. Hand-drawn. Circles, symbols, lines connecting towns across the Midwest. They're not from here, she said. But they're spreading. And the more of us they copy, the more they can move around without being noticed. I asked her what we could do. She hesitated, then said, "There's a place in the woods. Near Mill Lacs. Off the grid. Some folks there, they know. They're hiding." We decided to go the next day. But when I showed up at her motel room that morning, the door was open. The place was trashed. Blood smeared on the mirror. No sign of Claire. Except for one thing. Her phone. On the bed. Still recording. I hit play. It showed her, talking to someone. But the voice replying, was mine. "I don't think we should go," it said. "It's not safe out there." Claire looked confused. But we agreed. "You don't remember?" the thing that sounded like me asked. "We already went." Then Claire screamed. The camera fell. And the video ended. I left the motel and drove. I didn't know where. I just knew I had to keep moving. But now, they're getting closer. I hear things outside my window at night. I smell wet earth, like something crawled up from the ground. And this morning, I found another mirror. I didn't put it there. And in the reflection, I wasn't smiling. But my reflection was. I didn't call the police. I knew what they'd say. I knew how it would look. Like I was spiraling, like I needed help. But I wasn't crazy. At least, I didn't feel crazy. Still, something inside me cracked after I saw that video of Claire. I started to wonder, if they could copy me, down to my voice, my memories, would I even know I was real anymore? Then things got worse. 3 nights later, I got a knock at my door. Not a loud one. Just a slow, polite tap. I froze. Didn't breathe. Waited. Another knock. Then a voice, too casual, "Hey. It's Claire. Can we talk?" I didn't move. Not even when my phone started vibrating in my pocket. Unknown number. I let it ring. I stared at the door, heart hammering, until it stopped. Then it rang again. I finally looked. The caller ID said, "Claire." A picture of her smiling at the beach popped up. From years ago. I didn't answer. Instead, I crept toward the peephole and looked. There was no one there. Just the hallway, empty and silent. I waited a full 5 minutes before unlocking the door and stepping outside. There was something on the doormat. A small object wrapped in wax paper. I unwrapped it with shaking hands. It was a tooth. A human tooth. Still bloody at the root. I threw it, ran back inside, and locked every bolt. That night, I tried to sleep with my bedroom light on. But just as I started to drift off, my phone lit up again. New message from, "Claire, you don't remember dropping this?" Attached was a picture. It was me. Or, the thing wearing me. Standing in front of the mirror in Claire's motel room. Smiling. Blood on my hands. I deleted the message. But it was too late. I couldn't stop the dread creeping in. What if I had gone there? What if something else drove back? I needed answers. The next morning, I went through Claire's bag again, the one she left in the motel room. Hidden in the lining was a second map. This one had coordinates. A place deep in the Minnesota woods, labeled in her handwriting, "The Origin." I packed up and drove north. It took nearly 7 hours. The road turned to dirt, then to gravel, then nothing but trees. My GPS gave out halfway. I followed the sun, just like Claire had circled on her map, only travel by day. By the time I reached the clearing, the sun was beginning to set. There were old cabins, maybe 4 of them, nestled among pine trees. No cars, no signs of life. Just silence and a smell I couldn't place. Like something wet and rotten had been buried in the earth. I got out, flashlight in hand. The cabins were empty. Dust thick on the floors, windows broken. One had claw marks across the door, deep, splintered gashes. In the largest cabin, I found a journal. Leather-bound. Faded. Inside were entries going back years. The handwriting changed multiple times. One entry chilled me, they come from the mirrors. Reflections are doorways. Never look too long. Another, once they know your face, they follow you. They become you. You'll see them before anyone else does. But no one will believe you, not at first. Then, it's too late. And the last entry, scrawled in a different hand, darker ink, I saw myself outside today. Watching. Smiling. I don't know who's writing this anymore. I dropped the journal and backed away. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Not mine. From outside. I peeked through the cabin window. Someone was standing there. Backlit by the fading sun. It was me. Down to the jacket I was wearing. The same mud-streaked jeans. The same rip in the sleeve. They looked right at me. And smiled. I bolted out the back, tearing through the woods, not stopping until I hit the gravel road. I didn't stop driving until I saw city lights again. But when I got home, my door was unlocked. Inside, everything looked the same. But I could feel it. Something was off. The air was colder. The lights buzzed louder. My fridge was humming too steadily. Everything looked normal, but nothing felt right. I went to my bedroom and saw my reflection in the mirror. And I knew immediately. It wasn't me. It tilted its head, just a little too far. The smile was delayed by a second. The eyes didn't match the fear in my chest. I smashed the mirror. Glass everywhere. But no blood. Not from me. The reflection bled. Dark, tar-like ooze poured from the shards. It gurgled, "We're learning. We're so close now." I fled to my car. Slept in a Walmart parking lot that night. And the next. Now. I don't know where to go. Every time I stop, something finds me. Every mirror feels like a mouth waiting to open. I don't know if I'm me anymore. But if you're reading this, and you've ever looked into a mirror and felt like something was watching from the other side, something that knows you too well, don't ignore it. Don't turn your back. And whatever you do, don't smile first. I stopped using mirrors after that night. Car mirrors, bathroom mirrors, even windows at night, I covered them all. Anything that might show a reflection, I taped black construction paper over it or sprayed with dull paint. People thought I was crazy. Maybe I was. But I knew what I saw. What I kept seeing. The thing that wore my face. It didn't stop. It followed me from place to place. Always staying just out of reach. Just long enough for a glimpse. Once, I caught it watching me from across the street in the middle of the night. Standing under a street lamp. Still. Perfectly still. And smiling. Another time, I saw it driving past me. I swear it looked right into my eyes through the windshield. Same face. Same movements. Like a sick echo. I moved to another town. Changed my name. Got a job at a hardware store under the table. Lived in a trailer with the windows taped shut. I didn't speak to anyone unless I had to. I lived small. Quiet. Alone. And for a while, it seemed to work. No sightings. No dreams. I started to think maybe I'd shaken it. Maybe it had moved on. Until I got a letter. No return address. Just my name. My real name, the one I hadn't used in over a year. Inside was a single photograph. Me. Standing in line at a gas station. Looking down at my phone. And behind me in the photo, standing just out of focus, was the thing. Wearing my face. But this time, it wasn't smiling. It was watching me. Cold. Expressionless. Like it was waiting. That was when I knew this would never end on its own. I had to stop it. I drove back to the woods where it all started. The place Claire called the origin. This time, I came prepared: flashlights, salt, gasoline, matches, a crowbar, and every journal page I had collected from that cabin. I'd studied the words. They all hinted at the same thing: reflections are the door. Fire is the key. It was nearly midnight when I arrived. The trees stood silent. The wind didn't blow. Even the bugs were quiet. I made my way to the old cabin, stepping over broken boards and piles of leaves. Inside, I lit a small fire and laid out a circle of salt around it. I placed a mirror at the center of the fire pit, an old one I'd kept, the last one I hadn't destroyed. And then I waited. I don't know how long I sat there, but eventually, I heard footsteps outside. Slow. Heavy. Then the door creaked open. It walked in. It was me. But this time, it was perfect. No glitchy movements. No strange delay. It moved like me. It breathed like me. It smiled. Then it spoke. "You're tired," it said. "Let me take over. I can make it easier." I didn't respond. It walked to the edge of the salt circle, looked down at the mirror, then back up at me. "You were always going to end here." I picked up the crowbar. It laughed, my laugh. "You really think you can stop me?" I didn't speak. I just struck. The crowbar cracked against the mirror, splintering it into dozens of pieces. As it shattered, the fire flared. The thing screamed, a sound not meant for human ears. High, guttural, like something being torn inside out. Its skin bubbled. Peeled. Fell in chunks. And beneath. I saw it. Not human. Not close. A mass of wet, black muscle and shifting bone. Eyes blinking in the wrong places. Mouths opening along its sides. The skin had just been a disguise. It thrashed against the salt circle, but couldn't cross it. I threw gasoline over the mirror and the creature, then lit the match. The fire exploded. It screamed again, this time louder. The walls shook. The air turned hot and sharp, like metal in my nose. The last thing it said, as it burned, "You think this ends with me?" Then it was gone. Ash. Smoke. Silence. I stayed in those woods until sunrise. Just watching. Waiting. Nothing else came. The fire had burned the cabin to the ground. The mirror was gone. The pages, too. Nothing left but scorched earth and silence. I walked away with the clothes on my back and the feeling that I'd won something. But that feeling didn't last. Back in town, I started to notice things again. Not the creature. Something else. People. Staring just a little too long. Smiling a second too late. Cashiers repeating the same phrase, word for word, in different voices. My reflection, sometimes, still moves a second too late. Even in a puddle. Even in glass doors. I don't know what I burned that night. Maybe it was just one of them. Maybe it wasn't even the worst. Maybe it was just the scout. But I do know this: if you ever see yourself walking by, don't follow. Don't call out. And for the love of whatever you believe in, never look in the mirror after midnight. It might still be looking back. And this time, it remembers your name.